these are all of the books that you have. Some of them will disappear. I accidentally put them in, so I changed it to one day. Like this has nothing in it, so ignore it. Okay, so this is the list. You can sort it by author, title, language, but I put it right now in the suggested sequence that you should use it. This is the name right under here that you can Control F, search by to get it. This is the title of the book. So all basically I did is I took this, found with my students that it's very good to shake things up, as you probably know. So I just took Bryce's stuff, then Teresa's stuff, and then Ginny's, and just kind of rotated them through. So the first one is the basics. This is basically TPR. What are you supposed to do? So I'm going to Control F to search for that. It's Stories for Beginners -1. And it's right here. And how you would do it is you just say, these are the flashcards that you can do. These are most of the words that Bryce uses in his stories. So it's really good if they can practice this. Now, in order for them to hear Spanish, we're just going to turn the audio on and we are going to answer with English so that we always hear the Spanish. You could do this in your class, but if they're at home,
El chico agarra el proyector.
Then they get to hear it and match
El
it.
chico agarra la cabeza. El chico agarra la pantalla.
And that helps them get through. So prepare for those words. They also have games that they can play. Let's do Jumble. And they could do it in English, or they could, let's just see, flip it. So, but basically they'll be able to figure this out. And let me see if there's another game we can play. Anyway, this is the sequence that they can use the games for. They might not really care. This is kind of the smart sequence you might want to review, because the first books right here are these step-by-step stories, and it follows this. It's only about 4 that you'll do, but it teaches them how to use the Quizlet and the games to get mastery. Okay, so that would be the first week. Now these 0.2, 0.3, 5.1, these are all optional, supplemental. These are songs you might want to start with. I'm just going to show you one of them. This is how I always started my class, is we'd sing this, like Juan Paco Pedro de la Mar, and teaching the history about that. So you can say, okay, what's your name going to be? And the boy's name is going to be, this is for practice in kind of pronunciation and introduction to the written word. Written Spanish. Pau Carlos Manuel de la Mar. De la Tierra. So that they can learn to distinguish those words. And if a girl comes up, you could do these 3 instead. And Rosa Lola Dolores de la Luna es mi nombre, sí. And of course, you could just teach them the song, and this one has all the words in it. So obviously, these are supplemental, and these activities and games for reinforcing numbers, even though I only put it in 5.1, you'll be able to use it whenever, because there are so many games in here. Oops, wrong one, sorry. Let's see, numbers. Okay, so Bryce did tons and tons of work on this, and you can pick the one you like the best. Let's find a game, tic-tac-toe game. You could print those out. You just click print right here, Game Board B. So they should have a lot of fun with it. The numbers game, crossword puzzle, it's how to spell it. You could pick one of those. So that's just, this is kind of the idea, is to mix it up and intersperse the numbers things. Like maybe every Friday you could do something. Let's see. Now these step-by-step stories, they kind of teach the teachers and the learners how to go through. Let's find, you'll notice that we have step-by-step stories. It's just a different format. Some teachers preferred this, and I think this is really good for beginners. And then this is mainly just the story. So you're only going to need to choose one of those. So I'm going to show you the step-by-step story. This is at the beginning of Bryce's curriculum and kind of teaches students the process of language acquisition, and it guides them through, and they can print this out and say, oh yeah, I'm getting better. So first they have the story. You can click on this to understand it. So you want to teach them to kind of predict by reviewing the illustrations, scanning for known words. What do you think this is about? And this will guide them through it so they can go through. They can also, let me just see, listen to it. And then they can play matching with the words. So cries, llora, and you want to challenge them to get a better time. So whatever they got, it's like, I already did it, I'm done. It's like, hey, we'll try and cut your time in half. And then we go, blue is only the teacher can see it. And then they're going to be asking questions with this. So, maybe not. Where did it go? Okay, story retell. So this is a game, a test that they can take. I don't really like to do true and false, so I will change this. You could just let students know. I always did it first with my students on the smartboard and then gave them time to work on their own. So we would do it as a class, and I would show them how they can change the options, and I would write down how many I got. Like, oh, yay, we got 10 out of 18 as a class. Let's try and do better. So I would model how to use this, and then I would go through. And then ultimately, maybe they could even get to writing their own story using these words. And let's see, where is the storyboard? And even retelling the story with their friend. So they would print this out and say, what is there? And of course, production isn't necessarily a vital piece of comprehensible input, or whatever they're calling it nowadays, acquisition-driven instruction. But whole lot of stories you can use in class and then let them practice. Say, hey, now you do it on your own for 10 minutes. Okay, so then we go to, that's an introduction to the step-by-step stories. And just so you can see the difference between the step-by-step instruction and then the stories for beginners, this is focus on how you would actually teach it. First, you want to use the words. And then this was when we all went digital. So then you want to start with the story. And hey, yeah, I understand it. I can listen to it and match the images. And then finally, I don't think you need to do this, but I use this to grade my students. I thought it was amazing. So I have all of these assessments already set up. They would do a video and retell the story, and I would watch it, and it really drove them to produce well. And then the comprehension checks. What's in the glass? These are all questions you can ask your students. So just choose which variation you want, but either one you can choose. It's the same. Okay, so then we go to Senora Jensen, and she has all of these stories down here. They're video stories. It's kind of to shake things up so the students like it or not. I'm just going to choose one randomly. She has them ordered, but I don't believe she always did them ordered. Sometimes she had a lot in here. Now Storylabs is made so you can store all of your resources in here. If you want to be able to do that, I could easily make you a publisher, which means that you can change all of your own materials in here. I always linked my Quizlet and my Textivate and my files and everything. Okay, so here's her video where she draws it.
Este es Fulgencio. Es una persona. Es un chico. Es alto. Es simpático.
And then the read and listen, so you can listen to it here and follow along everything that she's saying. You can play games with it in class. My students love this game a lot. You have to re-put the story back together. Whatever she says next is here. And then these are just the cards with the words. So I would do options, answer with English, because I want to hear as much as possible. So if you answer with English and turn the audio on,
Es.
say, what is that word?
Tiene. Has.
Oh, good. So there we go. So that's Senora Jensen stuff. And then we have the embedded reading A. This is usually done around Halloween. So feel free to move this anytime that you want to. Let's see. Here it is. This will disappear, so ignore that. The blue is just teacher files. Let's just go to day 1, lesson plan. The reason these are in blue is so that there is some novelty for you a little bit, you know. You can use these in your classroom and print them and put them on your whiteboard and talk about them. And one of the things we're introducing is comprehensible characters. It's all about the character. And that brings in the conversation, the personalization, and the comprehension. ¿Quién es? ¿Cómo es tu madre? What do you think about her? Does your mom have blue eyes or green eyes? Or, you know, you just compare and contrast with their lives. And you focus on the characters and let the story develop. So you'll see this is day 1, and this tells you everything to do in your lesson. This is one of our most in-depth step-by-step resources. Bryce always did it at Halloween, and they were ready by then. So I tried to pace it so that you could get through some things as you go. And then right after that is La Corona. It goes with La Llorona. It's based on the song that's in there. Bryce did it. It's very cute. Here is the Corona, I forget what, a parody.
Did you know that if you live in one of these 10 states in
let's see.
America, you can get solar panels at absolutely no cost?
And I'll embed it. But anyway, it's a great resource. And so anyway, then we go back to Ginny's stuff for the first time, it looks like. Kebe Juan. This was awesomely illustrated, and she has broken it down into little subsections so you could get through the story. It's their first interaction right now with a novel, and you just take this apart, and she has already broken it down into section A, section B, and section C. So we have the Quizlet practice with just the vocabulary. She also has it with the sentences, matching Spanish and English. Now, if you want to have a different variation, let me just show you this. In the bottom right, you can choose a study mode and do, you can't see, but I clicked Learn, so you can match it to here. So there's a variation for your Quizlet practice down here. Okay, so then she does that for all the 3 sections. So like day 1, day 2, day 3. So this is a lot in here. So 7 times 3, maybe 21 days of material. And remember, in Comprehensible Characters, you focus on the character, how they feel, and compare and contrast to your students in the room and make sure that they understand. It's like, okay, he is like it is. How is your house always? What is your house always like? So always focus on the character. And then we go back to Bryce's stories, and once again, you can do the step-by-step, or you could do the stories for beginners. It's the same thing. Okay, Senora Jensen, I'm just looking through here. This is El Gato Bilingüe. This is a movie talk. We have other movie talks. We're working on getting more. And this can actually be done anywhere. If you're not feeling it, it's a self-contained lesson, and it's just a fun way to watch the video of this movie of someone sneaking in, and it's cat and dog. So that's something different. Just seeing what else I can show you. We do have a novel at the very end of the year. And right here is Stories for Spanish Class. I want to show you this one. Because basically, what we did was we broke down all of these stories in yellow and put all these supplemental activities in already, because most teachers do that. And I was like, oh, let's just do it for everybody, but Stories for Spanish Class has everything in here, and I'm just going to open it up. So we have many of them in here, but not all of them. So this one is El Hombre de Chocolate. We don't have this one in. So the reason it's down here is you could fill in whatever ones you haven't done at the end of the year. We don't have El Chico y su mamá. Pero aquí está y se puede hacerlo. Oh, sorry. And so this is part 1, and they could answer these questions in their notebook right here. So you could say, hey, I want you to go into your notebook and answer questions for Cristobal Colón, and they could just type Cristobal Colón, number 1, and then the teacher could read those. Or they could send it any other way you choose. And it will get bigger if I have a small screen because I'm trying to show you both. Okay, I should probably do, so this is level 2. This is all of the French stuff. And all of this goes along with Bryce Hedstrom's teacher training package, and he teaches you how to do the stories for beginners. So it's all the instructions on how to do it is in this book right here. I'm just going to go to the beginning. So even though we have them translated into the stories into French, teachers can still use this as the guide for how to do these stories. And if you translate anything into French, like let's say you want to put in something extra, please let me know because I can easily add it into the files here so all teachers can use it. And also Conexiones, Bryce Hedstrom's, this is level 2-3, not sure what level you're teaching. But this has stories that we don't have all of them. You'll notice that we wanted to separate them out so you could just give them. This goes all the way up to, I think, Ecuador y Guadalupe, pero hay más. So you'll notice that, let me just see how many he has listed in here. We go all the way up to Ecuador, and then we have La Virgen, pero no tenemos el castillo ni, oh no, sí tenemos eso. So let's go, and you can use this book later on with your students. And you click down here and you say, okay, students, let's go to page, let's see, maybe page 65 or so. And there we go. So let's start on page 65. Let's read this and talk about it. And so this is kind of like your extra stories that are in here. Now these right here, like this 59.1, this is just a sample of what I did with my students, because Bryce would, sometimes I would have students write their own just for fun. So I have my student stories in here also. I'll show you that one. So my students wrote this, and I put my student stories just as beginner things, and it comes right after Jugo de. And Jugo de is a finish your own story thing. So then 19.1 and 19.2 are the finish your own stories. So my students wrote these stories, they designed the pictures, and it's just kind of fun to see what other students did. And then they made games and that kind of thing with their pictures. So those are supplemental and ideas for stories. And let me see. This Bilingual Novel right here, the good thing about this is meant as kind of a summer refresher because it's a level 1-2 right in between. So you say, okay, over the summer, I want you to stay fresh, and every week, read a chapter. So they can go in and read and listen to the story and play the games. And it is a pretty good intermediate book. So let me just see if there's any other intermediate resources. So, Caperucita Roja. This just kind of shows you that you can put your own stories in, or the class stories if you have a Storylabs publisher access. So I did this, and I'm not like Bryce or Jenny, but it's still kind of fun to do if you do with your students. So let's see. Here is the story, and you can also listen to it. And then here's a picture and which one goes with it. So there it is. And you'll notice it goes all the way to level 4. We only have one level 4 story, but this Soy Lorenzo novel can definitely be in level 4. And the Conexiones, definitely level 4. Cultural, they could look other stuff up on their own. And that's it.